My wife and I were sitting in a restaurant when a man suddenly rushed over, pointed at me, and snarled, "Who is this?" My wife froze. "Soupy, Hajichi. Name's Damian, 34, male, 6 years of marriage." And I thought I had it all figured out. Turns out my wife had been living a double life and clowning me behind my back. Grab some popcorn and enjoy the show. I remember checking my watch, wondering if the waiter had forgotten our appetizers. It was 8 p.m. on a Saturday night, our 6th wedding anniversary. Catherine had chosen the restaurant, an overpriced place downtown. She said she wanted somewhere special. Let me tell you about my wife. Catherine was the kind of woman who believed the world owed her something. She was beautiful, high cheekbones, perfect hair, a smile that could get her whatever she wanted. But beneath all that, she was always calculating what people could do for her. I didn't notice it when we were dating. By year 3, I did. By year 6, I'd accepted it as the cost of keeping the peace. That was my first mistake. The second was thinking the peace was worth keeping, that I'm a plumber. I own my own business, 12 employees, and contracts with 3 property management companies across the city. Not glamorous work, but I built something real from nothing. I started with a van and a wrench. Now, I have an office, a warehouse, and a reputation that keeps the phone ringing. Catherine never missed a chance to remind people at parties that her husband fixed toilets for a living. She'd laugh like it was a joke, then quickly change the subject to something that made her look better. It was never a joke. The restaurant was packed that night. Couples everywhere. First dates, anniversaries, and the occasional awkward business dinner. Catherine was being extra charming. She kept touching my hand, laughing at things that weren't funny, complimenting my shirt like she hadn't seen it 100 times before. She was nervous that's when I noticed movement across the room. A guy walking straight toward us. Tall, athletic, dark hair. He wasn't looking for a table. He was locked onto us, coming directly to ours with an expression that said someone was about to have a very bad night. He stopped beside our table and pointed at me. His voice was loud enough to quiet the nearby tables. "Who is this, Catherine?" I looked at my wife, expecting her to laugh it off. She didn't. She said nothing. Her face went pale. Her hands started shaking. The silence stretched. 3 seconds, 5 seconds. Felt like forever that I looked back at the guy and held his gaze. Something passed between us. His eyes flicked to Catherine's frozen face, registered the guilt, then returned to me. I saw him do the math. He blinked and took a half step back. His posture changed. "Oh, ma'am, my bad," he said, suddenly casual and embarrassed. "I thought she was someone else. You two just look like never mind. Wrong couple. Sorry about that. Enjoy your dinner." Smooth that he gave me the slightest nod. Something Catherine couldn't have seen. Then turned and walked away like nothing had happened. Catherine let out a long breath as her color slowly returned. "That was so weird," she said, her voice a little too high. "He must have mistaken me for someone else. People say I have one of those faces. Crazy, right?" "Crazy," I said, but he had said her name. Catherine, clear as day. And the way she froze told me everything she wasn't saying that we finished dinner. Catherine relaxed, probably convincing herself I'd bought the story. She ordered dessert, talked about redoing the master bathroom, and mentioned her sister Daphne visiting next weekend. Normal conversation that I nodded and played along while my mind replayed every strange moment from the past year. Late nights that didn't add up, weekend brunches with friends I'd never met. Phone calls taken in other rooms, texts that made her smile in ways she never smiled at me anymore. All the little things I'd ignored were suddenly forming a pattern I couldn't unsee. When she excused herself to use the restroom, I moved fast. I grabbed a napkin, wrote my phone number on it with the pen I always carry, and flagged down the waiter. "See that guy at the bar? Dark hair, gray shirt." The waiter nodded. "Give him this. Tell him we should talk." The waiter looked at the napkin, then at me, then at the empty chair across from me. "Rough night?" he asked. "You have no idea." He slipped the napkin into his pocket. "I've got you. And for what it's worth, I've seen that lady here before. She wasn't with you. Middle of the afternoon, maybe 2 months ago. Same guy. The bill was already close to $300, so I rounded it up and added another 20. Worth it. Catherine came back with fresh lipstick and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. We drove home in silence. She fell asleep quickly, probably drained from the adrenaline that I stayed awake until 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, replaying everything and waiting for my phone to ring. His name was Enzo. He called me the next day at noon. The conversation was short and careful. Neither of us wanted to say too much over the phone. We agreed to meet at a diner on the east side of town. I told Catherine I had an emergency call from one of my property management clients. A burst pipe in a commercial building that needed immediate attention. She barely looked up from her phone. Didn't even ask which building. 6 years of marriage, and she couldn't fake interest in my work for 5 seconds. Enzo was already sitting in a booth when I arrived, back to the wall, facing the door. I slid into the seat across from him. Neither of us spoke for a full minute. Just two guys sitting in a diner, try to figure out what you're supposed to say to the man who's been sleeping with your wife. The waitress came by. We both ordered coffee, and she left us alone. "This is weird," Enzo finally said. "Yeah, I keep thinking I should apologize, but I'm not sure what I'd be apologizing for." "I didn't know." "I know you didn't." He stirred his coffee. 6 months, he said. She told me she was separated. Said her husband was basically a roommate. Divorce papers already in progress. She was just waiting for everything to be finalized before moving out. I nodded, processing. "We've been married 6 years. No separación. No divorce papers. Not even a serious conversation about it. We just had our anniversary dinner last night." She picked the restaurant. Enzo closed his eyes and pinched the bridge of his nose. "I feel like a complete idiot. Join the club." She had this whole story, he continued, about an emotionally unavailable husband who made her feel invisible. Said you worked all the time, never took her anywhere, made her feel like furniture. Something twisted in my chest. Not hurt, just disbelief. She'd thought about me enough to build an entire character. "I took her to a restaurant last night that cost me $300, I said. "We take a vacation every year. I bought her a car last spring because she said her old one made her look unsuccessful. But sure, emotionally unavailable." Enzo nodded. "Yeah, she's good at telling people what they want to hear." That was the most accurate thing anyone had said about Catherine in years. "So," Enzo asked, "what do we do about it?" That was the question I'd been working on all night. The old version of me would confront her immediately, I said. Demand answers. End up looking like the jealous, crazy husband while she cried and twisted things around. I've seen her do it before. When a friend accused her of spreading a rumor, Catherine flipped it so completely that the friend ended up apologizing. I took a breath. I want a divorce. My lawyer says adultery could matter. I contacted him this morning. If I can document it, I come out ahead. If it's just my word against hers, she's got a 50-50 shot and a lifetime of experience playing the victim. Enzo listened carefully. "And I want your help," I continued. "You've been seeing her for 6 months. You know her schedule, her lies, her patterns better than I do now. Help me document everything, and I'll make sure you come out of this clean. Just two guys who got played by the same woman, fixing the damage together." Enzo drummed his fingers on the table and stared out the window. "I've got a decent job," he said finally. "Good reputation. The last thing I need is being known as the guy who broke up someone's marriage." "You didn't break up anything," I said. She did. "I'm offering you a chance to be part of the solution instead of part of the problem." 10 more seconds of silence. Then he stuck out his hand. "All right, I'm in. What do you need?" Over the next 3 hours, fueled by bad diner coffee and worse food, we mapped everything out. Enzo gave me dates, times, locations, hotels, restaurants. The apartment she claimed was her temporary place while the fake divorce finalized. That apartment belonged to her sister Daphne, which explained a lot. Daphne was Catherine's younger sister by 3 years. She'd been covering for her the entire time, providing alibis, excuses, and a convenient address. Every time Catherine said she was at Daphne's, she was with Enzo. Every time Daphne needed help, Catherine was somewhere a wife shouldn't be. Sisters working together to fool everyone around them. "Does Daphne have a boyfriend?" I asked. "Yeah," Enzo said. "Some finance guy. Tyler, I think. They've been together about a year. So Tyler has no idea his girlfriend's been covering for a cheater. No clue. Seems like a decent guy. Met him once when he came to pick Daphne up. I filed that away. Before we left, Enzo asked something that surprised me. How are you so calm about this? If I found out my wife was cheating, I'd be punching walls. I thought about it. I think I stopped being surprised by Catherine a long time ago. This just confirmed what I already suspected, but didn't want to prove. He nodded. For what it's worth, she talked about you sometimes. Made you sound like a total loser. But sitting here, I see a guy who's about to handle his business. Thanks, I said. Now let's figure out how to take her down. He grinned. I think I'm going to like working with you. The next 3 weeks were the most productive stretch of my life. I had 2 other people helping me besides Enzo, my younger brother Sam, who worked a law office downtown, and my best friend Ricky, who'd been with me since high school and knew money better than anyone I trusted. Between the 4 of us, we built a case. Sam explained what I'd need for an at-fault divorce, what evidence mattered, and how to protect my assets. He also connected me with a tough divorce attorney named Margaret. Ricky went through our finances and found things that made my stomach drop. Catherine had been skimming small amounts of money for over a year, opened a secret credit card, and ran up $12,000 on hotels, restaurants, and a work conference spa weekend. She wasn't hiding it. She just assumed I'd never look. Meanwhile, Enzo kept seeing her, but now everything was evidence. He saved texts, screenshots, hotel details, and even recorded her complaints about me. She talked freely about how boring and predictable I was, how she'd wasted her best years. Every word worked against her. Ricky found more, cash withdrawals leading to a secret savings account in Catherine's name. She'd been putting money aside for nearly 2 years. This wasn't just an affair. She'd been planning her exit long before Enzo. That realization changed everything. The hardest part was acting normal at home. Every morning, every coffee, every goodbye was a performance. Some nights I sat in my truck just to prepare myself. The grief eventually hardened into patience. Her sister Daphne came over one weekend with her boyfriend Tyler. Daphne had been covering for Catherine the entire time. Tyler had no idea. He even talked about proposing. I realized he deserved the truth too. That'd be why the end of week 3, I had enough photos, recordings, bank statements, texts. Not perfect, but solid. Margaret said we had a strong position. The only question left was timing that Catherine's parents hosted a monthly family dinner. The next one was Sunday. Perfect timing. I called Enzo and invited him. He laughed and said yes. That week felt eerily normal. Catherine complained about work, scrolled her phone, and texted Enzo when she thought I wasn't looking. We talked about groceries and bills like nothing was coming. She even told me she loved me. I set it back to keep the peace. Thursday, I moved my money into a new account Catherine couldn't access. Friday, Margaret confirmed the divorce papers were ready. I sat in my truck holding them, realizing 6 years of marriage had come down to paperwork. In relief, Sam came over that night, and we finalized the plan. He asked if I was sure about exposing Daphne too. I was. Tyler deserved to know the truth. I knew exactly what I was doing, that he wasn't skeptical of the facts. He was worried about me. Whether I was handling it okay. Whether I'd do something reckless. Once he saw how methodical I was, he relaxed. Saturday night, Enzo and I met one last time in a grocery store parking lot. We'd stopped texting and calling. Paranoid Catherine might somehow discover us. Probably unnecessary, but neither of us wanted to risk it this close to the end. You show up 30 minutes after my text, I told him. Her dad will answer the door. By then I'll have already mentioned you. They'll let you in just to get answers. And then Enzo asked, you tell your side, how you met her, what she told you about me. He paused. This is going to blow up her whole life. She's been living a lie for months, I said, taking my money, building an exit while pretending we were building a marriage. I'm okay with it. He nodded. All right, 30 minutes. Sunday morning, I woke up next to Catherine for the last time as her husband. She slept peacefully. I made coffee, watched the sunrise, and waited. The family dinner was at her parents' house. Everyone was there, extended family, laughter, normal conversations. Catherine was in a great mood, completely unaware of what was coming. Daphne arrived later with Tyler, her boyfriend. Nice guy. No idea what he was part of. Dinner passed like any other. Afterward, we moved to the living room for coffee and dessert. Catherine was perfect, charming, attentive, smiling. The ideal wife that I stood up and asked for everyone's attention. I need to share something about my marriage, I said.